introduce and educate the left brain performance to our viewers?
Yeah, if you don't mind if I go first, Brad, I'll just give a quick little background. So, intangible skills, scouts, coaches, the NCAA, the professional leagues, the junior leagues in hockey, as we're all focused on right now. They always talk about, oh, someone shows up and they can score goals, they can do this, they can do that. That's great. But after the honeymoon phase, where did they go? The sticking factor of being able to continuously do that over and over and over, and the relationships with the team and relationships with fans and or supporters or even parents, and what does that look like? And so that's where we started, was in the NCAA. They're handing out scholarships. They said at 60,000 US a year, we want athletes that make it the whole way through, and also, we rely on those athletes becoming something in employment. They're going to become something, and we're hoping that return on an investment is, they're part of our alumni. Proud to be a part of you. You went through it with Quinnipiac, and we talked about that. Brandon is like, why did these players not get to play, and why did these players play, and what did they like so much about me? And it's all about attitude, behavior, and character fit, and reading and dialing it up, dialing it down. There's no switches in life. It's how do you navigate that? So we did the research, and our findings were that there are 45 skills that our behavioral psychologists found that are present in successful athletes, like athletes who are successful not only in their sport, but in life and going beyond. And we developed a tool to measure those so that athletes of today can measure against their peers and against successful athletes. And a lot of those successful athletes, Connor McDavid's amazing, but his skill as well is so amazing on top of his attitudes, behavior, and character. So he's upper echelon. But what about those players that have had 20, 25 years of success in the league that maybe only score 10 points a year? Why are they always playing? It's because they have all those other skills that they bring to the team to mentor them. And that's what people are looking for now. And of course, kids don't have time to figure that out the same. And it's hard for them to articulate those skills. If you were to ask them, oh, do you work hard? Yeah, of course I do. Well, then how come you didn't back check last game for that? I just didn't feel like it. Okay, so you don't work hard. You don't have an attitude of the skill, knowing how to work harder, that it's important. So that's what our assessment does, is it lays out everything that particular player has as skills in these 45 areas, so that they can be aware. Awareness is number one. As soon as they know it's important, they start doing something about it. So that's where we're at now. And I'll let Brad actually expand on that, because, after being a player and seeing these, you're like, yeah, I can identify where if I had some of those things or saw other players and I could have helped them with those areas, they could have had a longer career.
Yeah, I'll tell a little story that kind of brings it all together for me. Just mentioning, I grew up in Red Deer and played my minor hockey there, and fortunate enough to play for the Red Deer Rebels and get drafted to the local team, which is really great. And I think one of the turning points for me was when our team brought in a mindset type coach. I can't even remember what the guy's name is or what he was exactly talking about, as much as I remember the message that I got. And the message that I got at that time, probably around 18, 19 years old, was just about how being disciplined, how being consistent, how, understanding what a commitment is, and knowing that if I could bring the same game every night, if I could be disciplined every game, if I could be consistent, then at least I would have a chance. And that was something that I could really wrap my head around, and I could understand, like, oh, I can, that's one of the things that you can control. You can control your effort, you control your show up, you can control your energy level. And so once that kind of clicked, it was kind of an opening for me. And the whole, mindset world was always, a part of my game and in junior, and part of the reason why I feel like I made it to the pros. It was around that time that not being drafted, but I started my 19-year-old year, and I started out of the gates really well. And that was the year that I played the World Juniors. And the only reason I was able to get there was because I had a good start and I got invited to the camp in around Christmas time. So went to the camp, had a good camp, ended up being part of that team. And I feel that being part of that team led to getting drafted, or sorry, not drafted, getting signed by the Canucks because I wasn't drafted. So excuse me, my whole point is kind of surrounding how important for me and how much of a difference like that attitude, behavior, and character really was at that time, and not really knowing what I was learning or what I was actually understanding. And those are, what they call the intangibles, and the things that you can't really measure. However, with the left brain assessment, the grid assessment, that's now, because we have a behavioral assessment, we're able to measure those attitude, behavior, and character. So essentially making the intangible tangible. So, once you're able to measure something, then you're able to improve upon it, be aware about it, and grow with it. So, that's kind of how everything's come together for me, and how I see, just being aware of how you do one thing kind of is how you do everything. And that's how I was talking about, how the lessons you learn in hockey definitely lead to other aspects of life. We're all not going to go play in the NHL. However, we can have a lot of beautiful experiences with this game and learn a lot from it. And, that's how I see, this assessment really is at the forefront of all these new technologies that we have, and all these different ways of measuring the game. Now we can, finally measure attitude, behavior, and character, and then help players improve on that.
I think, I think as a obviously coach now, but as a player going through it all, just with all my coaches coming up right from the youngest ages and those that I remember, for having a great impact on me as a person, but also as a hockey player, whether you want to talk about skills or having proper be behavior, character, that stuff. I think you just can remember those. Obviously, all coaches and all people have positive and negatives to them. But I think it's extremely important um, for our community to understand how important uh, this type of platform is to not only, I guess it'd be obviously quite individual on understanding yourself, but also what you'll be able to, how you, that whole mindset and purpose behind it to give into a local hockey community or into, other things in life that you notice about yourself. And I think that will change the group and so say team setting. Um, yeah, I think as you guys are talking there, I think what also is needed is educating the parents on their behavior and attitude and character off the ice, including coaches. I think as mentors, has how much these kids look up to us. I'm sure a lot of people that have kids as parents would know as well, as like everything you kind of do there, they're kind of taking notes, right? And I was always told that, but I think, if we can continue to polish and improve that mentor platform and game, I think these players also are extremely affected. And so, not sure if you guys have the coaching part of it, but definitely we've been talking a lot about obviously players.
Yeah, so on the coaching portion, we end up speaking to a lot of parents, which is exciting, and coaches based on how to communicate with your athlete, because that's the number one thing that happens is that the parents are so excited to have a conversation. They want to connect with the athlete and they don't know if they're happy, sad, mad, glad, whatever happened. So they try and start the conversation. what we're really trying to encourage is asking open-ended questions with your athlete instead of being pointing and saying, oh, suck that you lost. And it'd be better to say, hey, what did your coach talk about today that was like your focus before the game? What are you guys talking about as your focus for your game? Or what is it that you think you need that they're going to ask you to do? And then afterwards say, hey, do you think you accomplished it? And did you talk to someone about that? And making it open communication versus very directive, because everybody loves their kids and you want to do everything to support them. And sometimes supporting becomes disengaging with the young athlete. They start to shut off and they just put the earphones in and start playing their game because they don't want to talk about the things they don't have control over. So talk to your athletes about the things they have control over. That's a big part of this. And it's really opened up when an athlete's done the assessment and they get to talk to their coach and to their parent. It's the first time they ever get to articulate, and I use that word, it's and Brad and I like using the word evoke. You evoke communication from that athlete from these reports. It's the athlete telling themselves and everybody else that reads it about them. It is incredible information and self-awareness that you look at and say, wow, finally, I got a voice. This is all down here. I love it. I have a voice now and I want to grow with that voice. And this is what it's about. Could be about their emotional control, go through hormones and situations and love and hate and everything else in between of yourself and others because you don't understand. Or it's your energy levels, or if you're open to coaching. And that, Brandon, I think you and I discussed that at length, is that kids move around a lot now. They don't have enough time to figure it out with a group of players, with a coach. I understand everybody wants the best for their kids and the best opportunities. And there's great programs, and BW hockey, every parent that I've heard from says, you know what? I love it here. I'm sticking it out here, and they're going to grow because there's staying power there. And my athlete loves it. And that's huge to you. So I just wanted to let you know, and to your audience here, that it's important to know that it's a good place for kids to grow up and be a part of the BW hockey. So
Yeah, I mean, in saying that, I know it's what very beginning of it all was like I was able to have mentors and very positive and impactful influences. I think most people knew I loved the game of hockey. I would do anything, that's all I thought about it. But I think as soon as that happened, there was different people reaching out and whatever they're starting the conversations or things that they were saying to me. So having this not only with myself, obviously, but with many of our other coaches and mentors to be able to chat with these kids, sure, about toe drags and the skill aspect of hockey, but even just about the game of hockey, of how it works, and when they're having tough times, when they're cut or they're not playing much, or even just life stuff where they're going through troubles at school, they're going through troubles with the mom or dad or parents or family or whatever they're going through. I think it just opens up that avenue for them to be able to chat with one of the coaches and mentors that they may look up to. And some may do it right away, and some may take a long time to actually talk about different things. But I think a platform like that helps a lot of people in what our world's like today.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to jump in and just mention that I'm glad you brought that word up, Steve, evoke. Like, I after playing hockey, I got into a bunch of leadership training and I did a life coaching certification and even when I went to school in the UK, I did my dissertation on ontological coaching. So like, a big word that means, rather than kind of dictating, telling a kid what to do, you're evoking it out of them from what they want to accomplish. So if you say you want to accomplish this, then what do you feel you need to get to where you want to go? What do you feel is missing from what you say you want to do? And have them come up with the answers rather than like telling them what to do. You need to be doing this, you should be doing that. So that is one of the the great things and you know, beautiful things about this assessment is we were able to get a snapshot into, you know, that attitude, behavior, character, and then we're able to coach and mentor the athlete from a place of where they want to go with support, with what we can see in this behavioral assessment of kind of where they're at. And you know, you get into the different things about, you know, goal setting and self-talk and all the doable things that we can to support them. And it comes from first knowing where the athlete's at and what the athlete wants and what the athlete wants to accomplish. Because, you know, I don't feel like I've ever met anyone that had success in the game of hockey only from their parent wanting it for them, only because their parent, you know, told them to do all the things and then they went up and made the highest ranks of hockey. Like, it has to come from the athlete. As with anything, the athlete has to want it, the player has to want it. And how do you help encourage and grow that? And yeah, that's you know, I understand that parents want the best for their kid, and at the end of the day, it still has to come from them. So hockey is a vehicle, and yes, we, you know, it may sound cool to have your kid go to the NHL, but if they don't want it, then I don't think it's going to happen.